You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored.
Well, hello, Marcel. How are you? Yeah, I remember you mentioning that the last time you called. You wanted to put a teaser. You said there was something that was just worth listening to this episode. So what is it? You're going to make me wait? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. You're the one who likes to tell the jokes. Okay, what is your magnificent joke this time? Okay, let me get this straight. Okay, what can go up a chimney down, but can't go down a chimney up? Well, let's see. What can go up between the other? I don't know, Marcel. What can go up a chimney down, but can't go down a chimney up? An umbrella. Okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. I have to admit. That's more of a riddle. No, I don't. All right. What can you hold in your right hand, but never in your left hand? Hey, this is a riddle too. Go ahead, think about it. Huh? You know, what can you hold in your right hand, but never in your left hand? Ah, gotcha. Your left hand. Yeah, go ahead. Try holding your left hand in your left hand. Okay, good. We're even. Now, what is this news that is so important that you had to make everybody wait, 2-3 weeks? You were in solitary confinement for your own health, your own safety, your own well-being? You're a snitch? Oh my God, Marcel. Oh my God. You do know that things like that happen in real life. There is that possibility. I mean, the chance of that happening to you is 100%. It did. Oh my goodness, guy. So they put you in solitary confinement because the people you snitched on went to prison. Did they go to prison just to get back at you for snitching on them? Oh. Well, you know that. See, that's why the justice system doesn't work very well. Okay, you make a plea deal. They renege on your plea deal. The people that committed a crime, they get to go free. And then you go to prison. And now they go out and commit another crime and wind up going to prison and they want to get you. Okay, you see that's, yep, that's why I'm into the prison reform. Because of things like that. We don't need that kind of stuff running rampant out there in the world. You know, if they had locked those two people up in the first place, these crimes never would have been committed. So, what did they do? So this had nothing to do with your snitch. Well, okay, so you told on them because they were selling drugs.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
And one of them winds up beating his wife. And the other guy winds up near death from a drug overdose. Wow. Well, you know, that is an interesting story. That's why you didn't call me for all that time, because you were in solitary. They didn't want you getting beat up. Did they transfer the guys? Okay. Well, maybe that's a good thing.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Look, Marcel, I hope you get through this. I wish you the best on this one. You're a good man. Well, you know, I do what I can. Just stay out of trouble. Don't be throwing people under the bus. Okay. Yep. Yep, right. Jokes, right. Riddles. Okay, gotcha. All right, don't be a stranger. Okay, there you have it. Another call from Marcel. Well, here we go. This is a QS inmate call. I am your host, Joel Wilborn. And this episode is about solitary confinement. Yeah, I know it may not seem like it, but that's the general gist of this whole kit and caboodle here. Now, Marcel, just to give you a little idea about him, he looks like those little drawings that kids do of the stick people, stick people walking, stick people riding a horse, stick people driving a car, stuff like that. That's what he looks like, a little stick person, little bald-headed stick guy. And, he was involved in a lot of different illegal activities out there. He's just, he's one of those guys that likes to, that's one of the reasons they say we lock our cars. We don't want people to walk by for the crime of opportunity. It's like, oh, this car's unlocked, so let's go ahead and steal some stuff out of it. He's a guy that just took advantage of any situation he could possibly run across. And, he was out there with his little buddies, and when he got caught, he decided, I'm going to make a plea deal here. I'll give you the names of some people that are in the drug activity, and you give me a reduced sentence. Well, they wound up stabbing him in the back. He got convicted for supposedly confessing, because that was part of his plea deal. And they found this little loophole where they didn't believe what he was saying about the other people. So they got him to confess, and the people he snitched on, since, he wasn't believable, and this was just nothing but a little scam to get out of going to prison, they didn't even go after these guys. So these people who were out dealing in drugs got to roam free. Well, Marcel's sitting behind locked walls. Well, what he just told me is that one of them got convicted for domestic violence. He nearly killed his wife. Fortunately, she's still alive, but she has some lasting scars. Not to mention the emotional distress that caused by domestic violence. And domestic violence in any form is not good. I would not promote it. I would not recommend it. And anybody who suspects domestic violence should call the authorities about it. You should check in on your friends every once in a while. Give them a call. Give them a visit. And if you are trying to get a person to admit that they're involved in domestic violence, I suggest that you seek some support. This is not fun. And somebody could really get seriously hurt like this man's wife did. Now, if the prosecutor hadn't backed out on this deal and arrested the person, I don't know. Maybe she would have wound up divorcing him. Maybe she would have been able to leave. I don't know. The thing is, what we do know is she got hurt, and he could have been in prison instead of her getting hurt. We know that. We know that. But that's what the prosecutor did. And Marcel is sitting in prison. Now this person who beat up his wife, he's in prison with him. And the other person that he snitched on continued his drug activity And he wound up getting pulled over by state police, and they found a cache of illegal drugs in his possession. Now, I don't know, maybe somebody could have died from an overdose. Maybe somebody could have gotten seriously ill. Or maybe nothing happened. Person just got high, got over it, and was just out bucks. I don't know. That's another thing that's a mystery to the world. But at least it caught up with them. So I would say some drugs would have been kept off the street and out of the hands of some other people had this plea deal not been backed out on. Now, that brings me to the solitary confinement. Now, Marcel went to solitary confinement not because he did anything wrong, but because the prison officials recognized that these are the two people that were directly involved in his case. And I do believe one of them overheard one of the guys saying, "Oh, Marcel's in here, blah, 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 blah." So they put Marcel in solitary to keep him safe, because both these guys now are in prison. Now, in the state of Washington, solitary confinement has been eliminated because it doesn't work. They can lock people up in solitary for, as a punishment, let's say. And then the person gets out and does it again. Now, I know there's been a few cases at the women's prison where a woman would be dating another woman, and this woman gets into a fight because she was, somebody badmouthed her or something. So she goes to solitary. Of course, her girlfriend is sitting up there, thinking, "Oh, I really miss my girlfriend, but I can't get to be with her if I go beat up another person." So they'll do this on purpose just to get into solitary. And, I would report that a lot, and I just keep getting retaliated against, and pushed back. But eventually, they saw that this doesn't work. In some cases, it got abused. But the official word is solitary, after some extensive study, does not work as a form of punishment. Now, there has been some people that were put in solitary because they were accused of rape. And so, they put them down there to keep them out of the general population. So solitary isn't completely gone as a place to put people, just not as a form of punishment. And so, in the case of Marcel, he isn't being punished. He's just put down there to be safe. And they wound up moving these individuals to another unit, with the staff being well aware that if these guys come in contact with each other, there could be a serious problem. Now, I don't really trust prison officials because they like to abuse their authority, and the general population kind of figures like, hey, they did the crime, they need to do the time. And if they get beat up or killed, or if they get sick because they didn't receive receive their proper medical treatment, that's their fault because they shouldn't have committed a crime. And, when you go out and you say people need to follow the rules, they need to follow the laws, they don't need to be abusing their authority, and the public says blah, 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 they cause this harm on themselves. It's kind of tough to beat that. Now, some of the folks that's in prison, they feel bad that they committed a crime. We've got a few cases where people are actually traumatized. We think, oh, you're this evil person, you commit crimes because you want to harm humanity, and you deserve to be locked up. Well, there's some people who have committed a crime and feel terribly guilty. And it just affects them. It affects their life, except it affects their everyday activity. And that causes trauma. And when they're sitting in there feeling bad, I mean, let's just make up something. Let's say John murdered his neighbor. And not because of any evil or anything. Let's say his neighbor has this beautiful wife. And so he goes over to visit his neighbor, and they're drinking or having a good time, and they get into a verbal altercation. And so John pulls out a knife. Hey, how dare you say these things? I am going to cut you. So he goes to swing at his neighbor, and his neighbor's wife says, no, don't harm my husband. And she jumps in front of him, and he winds up killing her. Now, he could go to prison and feel, no, this is wrong. I should never have done that. I know better than this. I'm an adult. I should have controlled myself. And he's putting himself down in every possible way. And then he's feeling that he got what he deserved. I deserve to be in prison. But she did not deserve to die. And I really cared about her. I really cared about my neighbor. And this wasn't supposed to happen. This is traumatic to him. And he's sitting in prison, and then the prison guards, oh, you're a murderer. And we're going to put you around people who don't like guys who kill women. Or we're not going to give you any special rewards or anything. They're just trying to find ways to just pick on this guy. So here he is already in a dire state of mind as it is. And then the prison officials treat him like he's property. Like his feelings don't matter. Like his mental health is a joke. All because he committed a crime and went to prison. That's the only reason they're doing that. And someone like that could end up in solitary confinement. Maybe his condition, his mental state, he can't. He doesn't want to socialize. He wants to stay away from people. And I don't look at solitary as a good thing to have around, but in a case like that, it could work. But for how long? And if he's treated really, really bad in prison, and then his sentence is up, let's say John, they convicted him of third degree, it was an accident, and they figured that out because he confessed. And of course he had to witness it, the husband. So let's say he gets out. Maybe he gets a 25-year sentence, gets out after 10. If we don't help him, if we don't work with him, if we don't understand what's driving him, when he walks out that door, what's he going to be like in the free world? Is he going to be able to just readjust back to his life? Is he going to be able to pick up where he left off and go get a job and hang out with his family? There's a lot of unknowns out there. And what we want is we want people to come out in a better state than when they went in. That prison isn't designed to just keep people from society. It's designed to help people cope with what happened. And, when I work with folks, I want them to admit they made a mistake. They did something wrong. For whatever reason. They deserve to be in prison. and they deserve to do their time, and they deserve to get out. They don't deserve to be mistreated. They don't deserve to have authoritarian rule over them, and they don't deserve to be mistreated to the point where they'll go in healthy and come out with terrible disorder or a missing limb or something. So I would like everybody to just kind of think about that. When the people who are locked up in prison, for the most part, they're guilty. And for the most part, they are where they're supposed to be. And we can work with that. My goal with the American Quitting Society is to see to it that when they get out, they don't go back. I don't want to just reduce recidivism. I want to end it. That's not impossible. I'm not chasing after rainbows here. We can eliminate people going back to prison. We can get rid of that if we work with folks. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a lot of cooperation. But it's something we can do. And I'm not concerned about the people that's locked up because we already know what they did and why they did it and where they are. I'm concerned about the neighbor who's planning on stealing your car. I mean, if you're going to despise somebody, if you're going to chase after somebody, don't focus on the folks we've already caught and locked up. Focus on those that's still running around out there. We can help the people that's locked up. We know what they did, and we can work on it so that they will never do it again. And that will happen with the right care. What about those kids that want to go spray painting graffiti all over the walls of local businesses? Or the student that doesn't like the test score and goes after the school and floods it? What about those folks? What about tomorrow's criminals? How are we going to stop that? And solitary confinement isn't going to help. You know, calling them names, when they ask for assistance, ignoring them. There's so many simple things we can do to help folks. On Oxyword, there's a few of the convicted people who give advice to high schoolers. What can you do to prevent from coming to prison? You know, if I want to build an addition to my house, I'm not going to contact a fireman, you know, who's somebody who's skilled in firefighting. I want to contact an architect, an engineer, somebody who specializes in construction. And if you want to give good advice to your children, to your family, to your friends, and a reformed lawbreaker, someone who served time in prison and got out and changed his life, you know, turned away from that episode and made changes to improve the lifestyle, wouldn't they be the experts? Wouldn't they be the people that you'd want to listen to? You know, my kid is acting up in school. What advice would you give them? Now, yeah, a firefighter, attorney, a doctor, a psychiatrist, all these people could give information too. But, you know, if you just happen to be at church one day and you're talking to one of the church members and find out he'd been to prison, isn't that something that you'd want to pass on to your child? That's more effective than solitary confinement. That's more effective than prison. Because if we lock everybody up for doing something wrong and they go to prison, they learn new skills. That's not helping. We need to understand what's going on. We need to work with these people. We need to actually ask them, what can we do to help you? What advice would you give if you were running this institution? What would you do? There are alternatives. Let's not keep locking people up. Let's not throw them in the hole. Let's help them. Let's talk to them. Let's understand them. Now, I'm going to ask that you go to AmericanQuittingSociety.org. You go to Oxyword and listen to some of those interviews that I do. You know, my primary one, let's say this week, is Candace. Go listen to Candace. Candace describes some terrible things that's going on in prison. Send out a JPay. Contact Candace. Find out more and pass this information on to people. Let's prevent crime. We talk about the people who commit suicide, the people who break the law. What about those people that we talk to, that we laugh with, that we joke around with, that we loan money to when they're down? What if we prevented suicide? What if we prevented a crime from being committed? What if we saved a person from domestic violence? Those things aren't reported, and a lot of times we don't know what we do. We're never going to help anybody if we just sit around and do nothing, especially sitting around criticizing them. Oh, they did the crime, so they need to do the time. Come on. There's more to it than that. In a way, a lot of these folks are reaching out for help. We just need to listen. Thanks for tuning in. And please get out there, talk. Let's make a difference in the world. Have yourself a wonderful day and go out and make beautiful memories for tomorrow.